Well, actually into today's video, we're going to have a look at the weather the next 8 to 10 days in today's video, which will take us to around the 21st of November. I think we're going to be seeing the weather staying unsettled, really, for the rest of this week into weekend, and probably into the start of next week as well. But there could be signs that later on next week, high pressure is going to build in more or less over the country, sort of a mid-latitude type ridge. That could well turn things cooler. We may get some frost and but I don't foresee anything really cold coming up. I explained this in the video yesterday, that despite the fact that the indexes are in our favour, we've got a lot of blocking over the pole and got the negative Arctic oscillation, it seems as though most of that cold air is going to be firmly down across the United States. For us over in Europe, I don't foresee any real polar air coming in, but if high pressure does build in, because we're very late in the year, we're well into November with the long nights, the heat's going to radiate away, so we could get frost and fog becoming an increasing issue, I think, as we go through next week. Anyway, we'll have a look at the charts in a moment. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath the weather video here on my homepage at gazweathers.com. Have a browse through the widget, and if there's any articles that you're interested in, just click through. When you finish up the website, of course, you'll be able to go off and read those articles. Gaz Shop is open, so you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Just go through the Amazon banners in Gaz Shop. That's all you have to do. Do your Christmas shopping at Amazon as normal, but the things you're purchasing will allow Gaz Weathers to get a royalty fee because you've gone through from Gaz Weathers to Amazon. And there's green keyword ads on some of the pages, so if you right cursor over green keywords, they'll display ads. So you click through go to Amazon's website, helping to support gazweathers.com by doing that as well. So we're going to start off with 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next 8 to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF, of course, over on the left. The GFS is over on the right of your screen as you're looking at it, so it's set up like that. Now, I was looking at these yesterday, and of course the main talking point about this is this very deep trough of cold air, low pressure and cold air entrenched within it, coming down across many central and eastern parts of the United States. This is very, very similar to what we had last year, shades of winter 2013, with this very deep trough in central eastern parts of the states. Really cold air coming out of the Arctic and into out of the Arctic through Canada and into America with that trough. Now for us, we've got this ridge, a very strong ridge of above average height, sitting to the north and to the east of the country, around those sort of zones just there. Now technically and normally in this sort of situation, you would expect that to be bringing in cold air from the east and the northeast. The problem at the moment is that it's been such a warm autumn and such a warm year, but specifically such a warm autumn across many parts of Europe, that there's no cold air to tap into. So although winds will be going into the east next week, or later this week, it's weekend, start next week, winds will be going into the east, there's no real cold air on the continent to be fed in on those easterly winds. Nevertheless, I think temperatures will take a bit of a dip. It'll become quite dank, chilly sort of conditions, but nothing particularly cold. But eventually, I think this ridge that both the GFS and the ECM is showing us these red colours, that's going to come down over the country, I think, as we get around day 10 and probably a little bit beyond day 10. It will probably come and sit right over top of the British Isles, and as I say, it could give us the chance of frost and fog becoming an increasing issue later next week. But at the moment, all the really cold Arctic air is plunging down into the States. That's where all the cold air is going once again. So the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are showing all this up quite nicely. We've got the red line here, which is the 30-year temperature average, and in terms of the upper air temperatures anyway, we're going to be above average for the coming week, 10 days or so, and really going out right to the end of the ensemble. The trend within the ensemble mean is certainly to keep it a little bit above average. This doesn't tell you the whole story, because if high pressure is coming down across the country, despite the fact it's warm in the upper atmosphere, down on the surface at this time of year you can get inversions, and an inversion basically means that it's cold on the surface while it's fairly warm aloft, and that happens because the heat just radiates away off the surface. It radiates into space under the long nights, and you get frost, you get fog, and that limits the potential, the temperature potential by day as well. So that is probably something we're going to have to increasingly keep an eye on next week, and you do that by looking at the dew points. We'll probably have to start looking very closely at the dew points to see whether, despite the fact that it's fairly mild aloft, we start to get colder conditions down on the surface. The precipitation spike showed that we've got quite a lot of rain coming up later on this week. Big area of low pressure coming in Thursday into Friday, producing quite a lot of rain. And then we do keep precipitation spikes going, but I think there's a very gradual trend here to ease those precipitation spikes off. So I'm not sure it's actually going to be as wet as this once we get into the second half of the month. I would suspect we'll probably begin to see something of a drying trend. But certainly for the next week or so anyway, it does look quite unsettled and fairly mild, and that's indicated by the temperature anomaly, which shows that from the 11th to the 19th we're going to be above average. The whole of Europe, look at that, you don't see that very often, the whole of Europe, right from Ireland and Portugal in the west to Russia in the east, even into central Russia, seeing those temperature anomalies coming out on the warmer side of average. So yeah, it does look as though we're in for a very mild period through the coming week. But look at that. Complete contrast for the United States. It's bitterly cold for the coming week from the 11th to the 19th. You have to go right over to the Pacific coast to find those warm anomalies. Most of the states are going to be very, very cold temperatures, well below average, as so often through 2014. While we've had probably what's going to be the warmest year on record for 2014, they, in America, have had a very cold year, one of their coldest years for a really long time. Started last winter, and they've been getting these repeated cold shots. They've got another one here coming up over the next week. So if you like cold weather, hop on a plane and fly to central parts of America. You will see plenty, or you'll feel plenty of cold weather, and probably see plenty of snow up in the north as well. The precipitation anomaly for the coming week shows that we're going to be near or a little bit above average, with the rainfall particularly perhaps down in the south and the southwest. So here's the GFS for Monday, and it's a north-south split. We've got the high pressure ridging through to the north of Scotland, going into Scandinavia, a trough of low pressure underneath it. That's going to be producing showers along with spells of rain into the start of next week. The origins of the air are generally quite mild coming up from the southwest, so despite that we've got all this blocking. It's a very unusual situation, this. Despite that we've got all of this blocking sitting up to the north and northeast. Actually, the origins of the air from the Med is quite mild. As we move through into Tuesday, a week away, we've still got the low pressure down to the southwest, still got high pressure blocking up to the north of Scotland, so everything quite slack. I think there'll be further showers or longer spells of rain with that. Now, beyond that, I was saying that it looks like high pressure could start to take over. So as we go through to the middle of the week, the low pressure is beginning to weaken off. We've got ridging starting to develop out to the Atlantic and starting to feed into this ridge up over Scandinavia. So by the time we get through to day 10, Friday the 21st of November, actually high pressure is sort of building over the top of the country. Now the air, as I say, aloft is still generally quite mild with this high pressure, but it won't take much, particularly if it's a clear high, it won't take much to start to radiate heat out from the surface, and we have to start thinking about frost and fog probably as we get through into the latter stages of next week, if this high pressure does indeed start to build over the country like that. The ECMWF at the start of next week, Monday the 17th, shows again got high pressure to the north, low pressure down to the south, so it's going to be most unsettled in the south with most of the rain down there, driest up in the north. As we go through into the middle stages of next week, very much as you were, really, the high pressure is up to the northeast, but low pressure is down to the south, southwest. The origins of the airflow generally southerly, so despite the blocking, it isn't cold. Actually, it's relatively mild at the middle of next week. And then as we go through to day 10, again, the signs here that high pressure is building more strongly. We've still got this trough down across south, but its days look like their number. And really, I think we're looking at this high pressure building through the country and across most of northern and central Europe as well. Again, the origins of the air generally quite mild, but if that high pressure does build in, because we're so late in the year, it will be frost and fog that we may have to start thinking about. But there's still no signs of anything proper Arctic coming along. That's the point I wanted to get across. Although it may turn colder late next week with frost and fog, that isn't proper sort of Arctic depths of winter type weather. There's no sign of that. That's all over in the States at the moment. But it's all very interesting where this is evolving to. So we're going to keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you posted. But the general direction of traffic is unsettled for the end of this week and going into weekend and into the start of next week as well, and then probably settling down later next week with an increased chance of frost and fog. Do 5-day forecast tomorrow I should say, tonight on the events page. I'm going to do a Christmas update, so come back if you want to know what the CFS has churned out on the latest update for Christmas. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.